Welcome to the AI Unraveled Weekly Rundown. It is February 22nd, 2026, and this has been a week of massive financial and technical pivots. This episode is brought to you by AIRIA. In a week where new models and hardware are dropping daily, AIRIA is the control plane that helps your enterprise stay secure and governed. This week, the reasoning war reached a fever pitch. Google released Gemini 3.1 Pro, doubling its intelligence to reach a level of fluid reasoning we've never seen in a public model. Meanwhile, the financial foundations of the industry are shifting. Nvidia is finalizing a $30 billion equity stake in OpenAI, as Sam Altman's firm prepares for a staggering $600 billion in compute spending by the end of the decade. We're also talking about the end of the AI ad experiment at Perplexity, the rise of the U.S. tech core, and why your next promotion at Accenture might depend on how often you log into your AI assistant. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Let's unravel the week.
Before we dive into today's deep dive, a quick note for the brands listening. If you are trying to reach the architects of the AI revolution, not just the tourists, but the technical leaders actually building the stack, we are opening up limited partnership spots for Q1. See how we can simulate your product for the technical buyer at jamgamind.com/partners.
Good morning. It is Sunday, February 22nd, 2026. And look, if you are listening to this right now, you made it through what I can really only describe as a completely pivotal week.
Yeah, pivotal might actually be an understatement here.
Right.
Because looking back at the last 7 days, from the 15th to today, the sheer velocity of change has just been relentless.
It really has. So grab your coffee, find a comfortable spot, and welcome to the deep dive. And just a quick note, this isn't just your standard news recap today.
No, definitely not.
Think of this as your strategic briefing for the immediate future. Because it felt like we lived through a year of headlines in about 168 hours.
We really did. We have reasoning models completely shattering benchmarks that honestly most experts thought were safe for at least another year.
At least.
And we have the fundamental financial structure of the entire industry being rewritten by this near trillion-dollar valuation.
Yes, and we have some developments in hardware that are, well, frankly, moving from cool to quite concerning.
Which is exactly the theme I really want to explore today. Because it was a week where the theoretical became very physical, the tools became actors.
Right.
We are seeing AI move out of the chat window and into the real world, into our finances, our security infrastructure, and potentially right into our living rooms.
So here is the roadmap for this morning's deep dive.
Yeah.
We are going to start with what I'm calling the reasoning crown. Google has dropped Gemini 3.1 Pro, and the benchmark scores are just ridiculous.
Truly ridiculous.
So we need to figure out if the war for pure reasoning is effectively over, or if it is just entering a new, much more expensive phase.
And then we absolutely have to follow the money. And I mean a staggering amount of money.
Yeah, the Nvidia deal.
Right, Nvidia isn't just selling the shovels for the gold rush anymore. They are effectively buying the gold mine. We are talking about a $730 billion valuation for OpenAI.
Which is just wild to even say out loud. Plus, we were going to get into the hardware. There were credible reports about OpenAI wanting to put a camera in your living room speaker.
Which we will definitely unpack. The why there and the privacy panic that is rightfully bubbling up around it.
We will also look at the geopolitical map. The U.S. is launching a tech core to fight influence in the global south. But we have to ask if it's too little too late compared to the open weight models coming out of China.
And finally, the culture shift. Accenture is drawing a hard line in the sand, use AI or do not get promoted.
Oh.
Yeah, that is a massive shift in workplace dynamics. Plus, Perplexity is betting on trust over ads, which is a fascinating economic experiment.
So the mission statement for this deep dive is pretty simple.
Yeah.
We want to explore how AI is shifting from a tool you use, like a calculator or a search engine, to an actor that actively does things.
It is making decisions, it is spending money, and it is washing you.
Exactly. And what does that mean for your business, your security, and your privacy?
So let's unpack this. Let's start with the heavy hitters.
Segment 1, the model wars. Let's talk about the reasoning crown. Google strikes back. We saw the release of Gemini 3.1 Pro this week, and I actually want to pause on the name for just a second.
The 3.1 part.
Yes, 3.1. Usually in this industry, we see a 3.5 or a 4 or turbo or ultra. The 0.1 feels strangely specific.
It does. It feels surgical.
That is
It
correct.
implies a very specific iteration. But honestly, do not let the decimal point fool you.
Okay.
The performance jump here is not incremental at all. It is a massive leap. The headline number everyone is talking about is the score on ARC-AGI 2. It hits 77.1%.
Okay, so for the listener who might normally tune out when they hear an acronym like ARC-AGI 2 or who is used to hearing about MMLU scores, why is that specific number a big deal? Why should we care about this test?
That is exactly the real question to ask. So most benchmarks, like the MMLU, they essentially test knowledge.
Right.
They ask, what is the capital of France, or solve this standard calculus problem. An LLM can effectively just memorize this from its training data.
So it's basically an open book test where it memorized the book.
Yes, it is crystallized intelligence, it is rote learning, but ARC-AGI, which stands for the abstraction and reasoning corpus, is entirely different. It is specifically designed to test fluid intelligence.
Fluid intelligence meaning?
Meaning, it is not checking if the model will read the textbook, it is checking if the model can actually think.
Okay, how does it do that?
It presents the model with a novel visual puzzle it has literally never seen before. It says, here is a pattern of colored squares, deduce the hidden rule and apply it to this brand new shape.
Oh, wow, so there is no way to just look up the answer.
Zero way to memorize it. You have to reason through it in the moment. And previous models were stuck in the 30s and 40s on this. Gemini 3 Pro was good, but Google claims 3.1 Pro has effectively doubled the reasoning performance of its predecessor.
Doubled in just one generation.
Yes.
That suggests they didn't just dump more data into it, they fundamentally changed how the model thinks.
Precisely. They are saying this comes from core intelligence derived from their Gemini 3 Deep Think project.
Deep think, yeah.
Yeah, which implies they are integrating what cognitive scientists call System 2 thinking.
The slow, deliberate, step-by-step reasoning.
Exactly. They're baking that directly into the model's standard inference process. It is designed for complex tasks where a simple probabilistic guess just completely falls short.
And they are rolling this out immediately, right? Like, this isn't just a research paper meant to pump up the stock price for a few days.
No, it is live right now. It is hitting Notebook LM. It is hitting Vertex AI. It is a very clear signal that Google is tired of being seen as the slow giant in the room.
They are flexing.
They really are flexing their research muscles and saying, look, we still own the state of the art.
But, and there's always a but in this industry, they aren't the only ones moving fast. We absolutely have to talk about the challenger from the East.
Alibaba.
Yes, Alibaba launched Gemini 3.5 this week.
This is such a fascinating counter-narrative to Google because while Google is pushing these high-end proprietary reasoning scores, Alibaba is playing a very different game and arguably a much more disruptive one.
Else.
Well, they claim QNAN 3.5 outperforms GPT 5.2, Claude Opus 4.5, and even the previous Gemini 3 Pro on their internal benchmarks.
Outperforming GPT 5.2. That is a massive claim to make.
It is huge. Now, we obviously always have to take internal benchmarks with a pretty big grain of salt.
Of course.
But the open source developer community is already corroborating the speed and the quality. However, the real story here isn't even just the performance.
What is it?
It is the economics. When 3.5 is reportedly 60% cheaper to run than its predecessor, and it is 8 times better at handling large, continuous workloads.
60% cheaper. Wow. I mean, in a world where businesses are just bleeding money on inference costs, which we will get to in a minute, that is the killer feature.
Exactly. Efficiency is its own form of intelligence right now. And here is the geopolitical kicker with this model. It supports 201 languages, and Alibaba is releasing it as an open-weight model under an Apache 2.0 license.
Okay, so just to be clear for everyone, anyone can take it, modify it, and run it.
Anyone, anywhere. Completely free for commercial use.
That is wild.
And this connects directly to the tech course story we're going to cover later. Because if you are a developer in Brazil or Indonesia or Nigeria, and you have the choice between paying Google a heavy subscription fee for a model that sends all your proprietary data to a server in the US,
right,
or you could just download a state-of-the-art model from Alibaba for free and run it on your own local server, what are you going to choose?
You choose the free one that you can control every time.
Precisely. Data sovereignty is becoming a massive, massive issue. And it is not just Alibaba pushing this. ByteDance just updated their Dubao chatbot, which already has 200 million users, by the way.
200 million.
Yeah. And DeepSeek is prepping a next-gen model, too. The innovation coming out of China right now is rapid, it is open, and it is incredibly cost-effective. They are basically winning the ground game while Google fights the air war.
That is a great way to put it. So we have the reasoning king in Google, we have the value challenger in Alibaba. Where does that leave our reliable friends at Anthropic?
Well, Anthropic released Claude Sonnet 4.6 this week.
Right.
And they are playing the reliability card. And they are playing it really well. They are hitting this perfect 4-month update cycle.
Which enterprises just love.
They do. You can plan an actual corporate IT roadmap around a predictable cadence like that.
So Sonnet 4.6, what is the actual headline feature there?
The headline is, without a doubt, the context window. 1 million tokens.
Okay, let's visualize that for a second. We throw around the word tokens a lot on this deep dive. What does 1 million tokens actually look like in practice for a user?
So imagine a physical stack of books. We are talking about roughly 7 or 8 standard-length novels.
Okay.
Or, more relevantly for a business, an entire repository of computer code, dozens of dense academic research papers, or like 5 years of SEC financial filings.
That's all at once?
All at once. You can upload that entire library into the prompt window and ask the model to find a specific inconsistency across all of those documents.
That is just incredible. It's like having a PhD research assistant who can memorize a whole library in 3 seconds and recall a specific footnote on page 400.
It really is. And while Sonnet 4.6 scored 60.4% on ARC-AGI 2, which, by the way, is still excellent, even if it trails Gemini 3.1's 77%, it is rapidly becoming the daily driver for a lot of professionals.
Yeah, I know a lot of people defaulting to Claude.
Because it is setting record scores in coding and computer use specifically. It is the workhorse of the industry right now.
So we have the workhorse, the challenger, and the genius. The whole ecosystem is really diversifying.
It is.
But all of this technology, all of these models, they need fuel. And that fuel is money.
Oceans of money, truly.
Let's move to segment 2, the business of intelligence. We have to talk about Nvidia and OpenAI. This deal is just complex, and the numbers are staggering.
It is absolutely historic. Nvidia is finalizing a $30 billion equity stake in OpenAI.
$30 billion.
Yes. Now, remember previously there was all this talk of a $100 billion infrastructure deal.
Right. I remember that. Basically, OpenAI promising to buy chips in the future.
Exactly. This replaces that. This is straight equity.
So instead of just a massive purchase order, Nvidia is taking a slice of the company itself.
A very significant slice. This deal values OpenAI at roughly $730 billion pre-money.
$730 billion. That is rapidly approaching trillion-dollar territory for a private company. That puts them in the league of Meta, Tesla, Berkshire Hathaway.
It is staggering. But if you look at the strategy from Nvidia's perspective, Jensen Huang is playing 4D chess here.
How so?
He is moving Nvidia from being a supplier, the guy selling the shovels, to an owner. He gets the revenue from selling the chips to OpenAI because obviously OpenAI still needs to buy them to train the models.
Right, they still need the hardware.
But now he also gets the equity upside if OpenAI wins the AGI race.
He is effectively doing vendor financing on a nation-state scale.
Exactly. He is securing his biggest customer and vertically integrating the entire AI economy right into his balance sheet.
And Wall Street is buying it.
Wall Street loves it. 57 out of 61 analysts covering the stock are rating Nvidia a buy right now. They actually see another 35% upside in the stock from here.
Which defies gravity. But let's flip the coin for a second. What about OpenAI? We saw some leaked financial projections this week that are, well, they are eye-watering.
Eye-watering is a very polite way to put it. OpenAI currently projects spending $665 billion by 2030.
I am sorry, did you say $665 billion?
Yes. $665 billion, mostly on compute and training. And because of that revised projection, their cash burn estimate has gone up by $111 billion.
They are burning cash at a rate that would literally bankrupt most mid-sized nations.
They are.
But the revenue is up, right? I saw a figure saying it tripled.
It is up. Revenue tripled to $13.1 billion in 2025.
Okay, well, that is amazing growth for any software company.
It is. But, and here is the massive trap they are in, their margins actually dropped.
Dropped?
Yeah, they went from a 40% gross margin down to 33%.
Wait, why? Usually in software, margins improve as you scale. You write the code once and you sell it 1 million times.
Right.
Why are their margins shrinking as they get bigger?
Because AI isn't normal software. The main culprit here is inference costs. Running these models, especially the deep reasoning models we just talked about, like Gemini 3.1 or the new GPT iterations, it is incredibly expensive.
Because thinking costs energy.
Exactly. Every single time you ask ChatGPT a complex question, it burns electricity and it occupies time on a $30,000 GPU. As the models get smarter, they inherently get more expensive to run. Inference costs have quadrupled for them.
So they are trapped in this weird paradox.
Yeah.
To remain competitive, they need to build smarter models. But the smarter the models get, the more they destroy their own margins.
Exactly. And because of that, they aren't expecting to be cash flow positive until 2030 at the earliest.
Wow.
That is 4 more years of just massive deficit spending, which totally explains why they are desperately negotiating this new $100 billion funding round with SoftBank, Amazon, and Microsoft.
They just need to keep the lights on while they try to reach AGI.
It is a high-stakes game of chicken.
Yeah.
They have to build a godlike intelligence that generates massive economic value before the bank account hits zero.
That is a terrifying bet to make.
It is the bet of the century.
Speaking of money and costs, we really cannot ignore the macroeconomic picture here. The Supreme Court made a huge ruling this week regarding tariffs. And at first glance, it feels disconnected from AI. But you say it's really not.
It is deeply connected. SCOTUS ruled 6-3 against the Liberation Day tariffs,
Okay.
which was a huge, massive win for tech importers. Apple alone had already spent billions reorganizing their supply chains and paying about $2 billion in fees just preparing for this.
But government policy is still a massive variable here, even for these untouchable AI labs.
Absolutely. Think about it. If those tariffs had actually stood the cost of hardware, GPUs, servers, consumer devices, specialized cooling systems, it would have all spiked by 20 or 30% overnight.
Which would have blown a catastrophic hole in the budgets of companies like OpenAI and Microsoft, given what we just discussed about their burn rate.
Precisely. The ruling basically stabilizes the supply chain costs just as the industry is desperately trying to scale up infrastructure. It is a very stark reminder that these tech giants, regardless of how smart their AI is, they still exist within the physical laws and economies of nation-states.
Which is actually a perfect segue. Because as these models get smarter and the businesses get bigger, the actual risks change. We aren't just talking about a chatbot getting a historical fact wrong anymore. We were talking about critical infrastructure security.
Right. This is the week where Agentic AI stopped being a cute marketing buzzword and started being a legitimate threat vector.
Segment 3, security and the agentic shift. Let's talk about Anthropic's launch of Claude Code Security.
This is a classic double-edged sword story. So Anthropic launched a tool that specifically scans code bases for vulnerabilities.
Which sounds great, right? A very useful utility for busy developers.
It sounds perfect, just a tool to help fix code. But here's the absolute shocker. Claude Opus 4.6 used this new tool to scan production open source code.
Wait, production code? Like the stuff that currently runs the internet?
Yes, the foundational stuff. And it found over 500 vulnerabilities.
500.
Over 500. And these weren't just simple syntax errors or missed commas.
What were they?
Some of these were legitimate 0 days, bugs that human security experts had actively missed for decades.
So the AI is genuinely seeing structural things in the code that we just can't see.
It is. It has a wider context window and endless patience. And let me tell you, the market reaction to this news was immediate, and it was brutal.
For who?
For cybersecurity stocks, they took an absolute bloodbath this week.
Really?
Oh, yeah. CrowdStrike was down 8%, Cloudflare down 8.1%, Okta dropped 9.2%.
Why the drop? Is the logic just that if AI can find all the bugs, we don't need human security companies anymore?
The market logic is that AI is now doing the job of a senior security analyst, but doing it better, faster, and infinitely cheaper. If Claude can find the vulnerability and suggest the patch instantly, why does an enterprise need a massive multi-million-dollar subscription to a legacy security firm?
I mean, I see the business logic there.
But the flip side is what is truly terrifying.
Because if Claude can find the bugs to patch them,
Exactly. A malicious AI can find the exact same bugs to exploit them.
that is the nightmare scenario. We are entering a world where the offense and the defense are both running at machine speed. Human reaction time is basically irrelevant now.
And that brings us to the real fundamental shift here. AI isn't just a passive tool anymore. It is an actor. It is actively finding security bugs. It is reading and handling your email. It is making financial decisions.
Right.
So if you are a CISO, a chief information security officer at a major corporation, that is absolutely terrifying because you don't actually know what your employees' AI agents are doing.
You have no visibility.
None. You don't know where they're sending proprietary data or what kind of API costs they are quietly racking up in the background.
And you know, this week proves that AI isn't just a tool anymore, it's an actor. It's finding security bugs and handling your email. For a CISO, that's terrifying. This is exactly why ARC-AGI is gaining so much traction.
It really is.
It's the control plane that sits on top of all these agents, giving you a secure gateway and cost management in one place.
And that is so critical because right now, most companies are just flying blind.
Totally blind. They have shadow AI popping up everywhere, employees just expensing tools the IT department doesn't even know exist, agents running tasks in the background.
Exactly. AIRI gives you that unified security. It actively handles the discovery of shadow AI so you can actually see the real landscape of your network.
And importantly, especially after what we just discussed with OpenAI's shrinking margins and massive inference costs, AIR provides real-time cost control for reasoning models.
Which is huge. So you can basically stop a runaway agent from spending your entire monthly IT budget on inference costs before it even happens.
Exactly. If you are running an enterprise in this new agentic world, you need that layer of control. So check them out, AIRI.
So speaking of agents and this desperate need for control, OpenAI actually made a really big hire this week that underscores this exact shift.
They did. Peter Steinberger, he is the creator of OpenClaw. For the audience, what exactly is OpenClaw?
OpenClaw is, well, it was, an independent, autonomous agentic tool. It directly accesses your email, your local files. It clears your inbox for you. It even sends messages on your behalf via WhatsApp or iMessage.
So it effectively runs the administrative side of your digital life.
It does, and now the guy who built it is at OpenAI.
The implication there is pretty clear. OpenAI is building the next generation of personal agents. They want ChatGPT to be able to actually do these things, not just draft the text for you.
Right, instead of draft an email to my boss, it is email my boss, book me a flight, pay this utility bill.
But again, the security experts are just screaming about this. Giving an AI that much unmitigated access to your financial and personal life.
It is a colossal risk, which is exactly why OpenAI also rolled out something called lockdown mode this week.
What does lockdown mode do?
It is essentially a defense mechanism for enterprise and education users right now. It physically disables high-risk features like live web browsing or following external links to completely prevent prompt injection attacks.
So basically stopping a hacker from tricking the AI into leaking your inbox data by hiding a prompt on a website it visits.
Exactly. It sandboxes the agent.
It really feels like we are building the race car and the brakes at the exact same time while driving 200 miles per hour down the highway.
That is the perfect analogy for this entire industry. And now OpenAI wants to park that race car right in your living room.
Yes. Let's move to segment 4. Hardware ambitions, seeing and storing. And I have to say, this one really got under my skin this week.
You are talking about the OpenAI Home Hub rumors.
But it is way more than rumors at this point. The reports say they are actively building a $200 to $300 smart speaker. But here's the kicker with this device. It has a built-in camera.
Right. And not just a camera for making video calls to your family. The leaked description says it can specifically identify objects on a nearby table and listen to ambient conversations.
Why? I just keep asking, why does a speaker need to see my coffee table? Why does my audio hub need eyes?
The corporate pitch is context. OpenAI argues, like, for an AI assistant to be truly helpful to you, it needs to share your physical reality.
Okay.
So if you ask, where are my keys, it can actually tell you because it physically saw you put them down on the counter 10 minutes ago. If you want to buy something, it uses facial recognition for seamless payments. It is actually part of a much broader ecosystem push they are doing.
What else is in the ecosystem?
Smart glasses planned for 2028 and even a smart lamp.
A smart lamp. It feels very ambitious and honestly very intrusive.
It does. And there is a ton of industry speculation that Jony Ive is heavily involved in the design here. It has that very distinct reinventing the home hub aesthetic.
But the criticism is entirely valid. We literally just spent 20 minutes talking about how OpenAI needs massive amounts of data and revenue just to survive their cash burn.
Right.
Do we really want a device owned by a company that is burning $600 billion to have a camera and microphone always on in the most private areas of our home?
That is the ultimate fear, the monetization of domestic attention. Now, there are reported delays. The speaker won't hit the market until 2027 at the earliest.
Maybe they're rethinking the privacy angle.
Maybe. But the raw ambition to be physically present in your life is crystal clear. They don't just want to be an app on your phone. They want to be the physical interface for your reality.
Meanwhile, Microsoft is going in the complete opposite direction, physically speaking. They aren't looking at your living room. They're looking at the next 10,000 years.
Project Silica.
Yes.
This is actually very cool foundational science. They are actively storing data in borosilicate glass using lasers.
Just glass. Like what a window is made of.
Well, specialized quartz glass,
Yeah.
they use these incredible femtosecond lasers to create voxels, which are basically 3D pixels deep inside the atomic structure of the glass.
Wow.
And a single tiny chip the size of a drink coaster can hold 4.8 terabytes of data.
And the pitch is that it lasts 10,000 years.
That is the claim. Because it is glass, it is entirely immune to electromagnetic pulses. It is immune to water damage, extreme heat magnetic decay. It is effectively forever storage.
So while OpenAI is trying to aggressively watch us in real time, Microsoft is quietly trying to make sure our history survives the actual apocalypse.
Well, they are marketing it for national archives and museums, but it really highlights a deeper issue, the global data explosion.
Right.
We are generating so much synthetic intelligence, so much video, so much data that our traditional magnetic hard drives literally cannot keep up. The failure rate is too high. We need entirely new physics just to store our digital footprint.
And just to close the loop on this idea of seeing in hardware, Nvidia released something called Dream Dojo this week.
Yes, an open source robot world model. It was trained on over 44,000 hours of human video point of view footage.
And this connects directly back to the OpenAI speaker, right?
It does. Because for physical robots or smart speakers with cameras to be actually useful, they have to deeply understand the physical world. They need to see and intuitively understand gravity physics object permanence.
So Nvidia is basically training the brains for the future robots that will eventually use the camera technology OpenAI is trying to build.
Exactly. The software is learning to see, the hardware is getting the physical cameras, and the storage is becoming eternal. It is a very potent mix of technologies maturing all at once.
But let's zoom out for a second, because this isn't just happening in closed labs in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
This is a massive global game.
Segment 5, Geopolitics and the Battle for Influence.
The U.S. government launched the Tech Corps this week.
Yes. It is explicitly modeled on the Peace Corps. The core idea is to send American STEM volunteers abroad, mostly to the global south, for 1 or 2 years to integrate American-made AI into local farms, hospitals, and schools.
So it is soft power. It is diplomacy through code.
Exactly. Winning hearts and minds through technology deployments. It is a very direct governmental response to China's growing technological influence in regions like Africa and Southeast Asia.
But is it actually going to work? We talked about Alibaba's Quinn model earlier.
And that is exactly the counterpoint a lot of geopolitical analysts are making. A Brookings fellow pointed this out brilliantly this week. Persuasion simply doesn't beat economics.
Meaning what?
Think about it. If you are a hospital administrator in rural Kenya and the American volunteer brings a proprietary AI model that requires a monthly subscription fee in US dollars and sends all your patient diagnostic data back to a server in California,
Right.
versus the Chinese option, which is totally free, completely open source, and can run locally on the hospital's own hardware.
You take the local option. It is not even a debate.
Exactly. Data sovereignty is huge for these developing nations. They do not want their local data flowing into U.S. corporate hands. So Chinese open models like Alibaba Minimax and Moonshot are dominating the leaderboards on Hugging Face because they fundamentally respect that desire for local control.
So the U.S. strategy of exporting our commercial products might completely fail against the Chinese strategy of exporting the open code itself.
It is a classic open versus closed ecosystem battle just played out on a high-stakes geopolitical stage.
And of course, the military angle of this technology is rapidly ramping up too.
The Pentagon contest, $100 million for drone swarms.
Right. SpaceX and XAI are officially competing in this.
They are. And the tech here is voice-controlled, fully autonomous drone swarms designed specifically for offensive purposes. This is the sharp end of the stick.
And OpenAI is involved too, right?
Technically, yes. They are involved via a defense partner called Applied Intuition. Though OpenAI claims their model is strictly being used for voice translation purposes, only not targeting.
But SpaceX is doing the targeting.
SpaceX is doing a hard military applications, yes.
It's just a sobering reminder that AI safety means very, very different things depending on whether you are sitting in a corporate boardroom arguing about chatbots or sitting in a Pentagon war room.
Very true.
Okay, let's move to our final segment. Let's bring all of this massive macroeconomic tech news down to the everyday human level. Segment 6, culture, workplace, and trust.
The Accenture story is the one that every single middle manager out there should be paying very close attention to today.
Accenture basically issued an ultimatum to their workforce. use AI or do not get promoted.
Right. They are actively tracking weekly employee logins to their internal suite of AI tools. If you aren't logging in and using them regularly, it negatively impacts your performance reviews and your promotion chances.
They are explicitly tying career advancement to AI adoption.
Yes.
That is incredibly aggressive.
It is aggressive, and it is creating a massive internal divide at the company. Junior staff are adopting it really fast because they want to move up. Senior staff, not so much.
Yeah, I saw some leaks from inside the company calling the AI tools broken slop generators.
Broken flop generators. Ouch.
You can just hear the sheer frustration in that phrase.
You really can. But corporate leadership is basically saying, we do not care if you like it right now. We do not care if it occasionally makes mistakes. This is the future of our firm. Adapt or stagnate.
It really feels like the definitive end of veteran resistance. You know, there was always that senior guy in the office who stubbornly refused to use email or Slack, and everyone just tolerated it because he was a character.
Right.
Accenture is saying that archetype is officially dead.
Well, unless you live in Europe.
Right.
I almost forgot the exceptions. Staff in 12 different European countries are explicitly exempt from this mandate because of strict labor and privacy laws.
So you have this totally bifurcated global workforce. The U.S. staff is being actively forced to merge their workflows with the machine, while the European staff is legally protected from the mandate.
It will be an absolutely fascinating sociological experiment to see which region performs better in 5 years. Does forced AI adoption create a team of superworkers, or does it just create massive burnout and resentment?
Indeed, we will have to watch that. And while Accenture is forcing usage upon its employees, Perplexity is taking a totally different route. They are trying to force trust.
This is a bold move. Perplexity officially announced they're dropping ads entirely.
No ads in a purely ad-driven internet economy.
No ads whatsoever. And they have no plans to bring them back. Their reasoning is that placing ads inside AI answers inherently makes users doubt everything.
I mean, if I ask a medical question and I get an answer sponsored by a pharmaceutical company, I immediately trust the chatbot less.
Exactly. They aren't wrong. They are making a massive bet that absolute truth is a premium product in the modern age. They believe people will gladly pay a monthly subscription just for unbiased, uncompromised answers.
Meanwhile, OpenAI is publicly testing ads in ChatGPT, and Google is aggressively stuffing sponsored links into their AI overviews.
It is the classic HBO versus cable TV business model. Perplexity wants to be HBO. High-quality premium paid and zero commercials. Google is cable TV.
It is a huge risk. But in an era of deepfakes and AI hallucinations, trust might legitimately be the most valuable commodity on the internet.
Without a doubt.
Speaking of deepfakes and hallucinations, did you happen to hear about the Pope this week?
I did, actually. Pope Leo XIV?
Yes, he issued an official statement urging priests not to use AI to write their homilies, and also not to chase viral likes on TikTok.
Which honestly is a very valid theological point. Yeah. A homily is supposed to come from the heart. It is supposed to reflect the soul of the speaker.
Right.
If it comes from a statistical probability engine predicting the next word, does it actually have any spiritual weight? Even if the words themselves are technically perfect, the synthetic origin matters.
The human element of faith versus the synthetic is a profound debate. And speaking of synthetic, Google's ARIA 3 can now officially generate full music tracks with highly realistic vocals.
30-second tracks. Watermarked with SynthID, thankfully, so we can identify them. But the quality is getting undeniably good. The lines between human art and synthetic generation are just blurring everywhere you look.
Okay, let's wrap this up. We have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have. We saw the rise of reasoning with Gemini and Quinn completely shifting the benchmark landscape. We saw the massive consolidation of capital with that historic Nvidia and OpenAI deal.
Right.
We saw the physical intrusion of AI into our lives with cameras and smart speakers. And we saw the uncompromising professional mandate at Accenture.
So here's my final provocative thought for you to chew on as you go out the rest of your Sunday.
Okay.
If an employer like Accenture is strictly mandating that you use AI just to get a promotion, and a tech giant like OpenAI is quietly working to put cameras in your speaker to supposedly help you run your home, are we rapidly moving to a world where simply opting out of AI is no longer a viable professional or personal option?
That is the ultimate question of the decade. It is not just a shiny new tool you pick up anymore. It is the water we all have to swim in.
On that somewhat cheery note, keep learning, stay critical, and we will see you next Sunday for another deep dive.
Goodbye, everyone.
That wraps up our weekly rundown for February 22nd. The signal for this week is infrastructure. Between Microsoft's 10,000-year glass storage, OpenAI's massive compute projections, and Nvidia's direct equity bet, the physical and financial infrastructure of the AI era is finally being set in stone. This episode was made possible by AIRIA. As your AI infrastructure expands, don't fly blind. Get unified visibility and security with AIRIA. Check the link in the show notes. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Please subscribe and share. Until next week, keep unraveling the future.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.